My name is Heather Tucker. This is my husband, Brian. We are the executive directors of Community of Hope Haiti. We live on an island in Haiti in a little village called Grand Vide.
And we live there with our 3 children, Elijah, Lily, and Luke. And Grand Vide is located on the island of Gonâve, which is 37 miles wide by 37 miles long by 8 miles wide. And we live on the far southwestern corner of the island of Gonâve. We are the only presence of non-governmental organization or of missionary care in that entire area.
On the southwest side.
On the southwest side.
Yeah. About 3 years ago, Brian went on a short-term mission trip to Haiti, and the Lord asked him 3 questions while he was there.
Brian, do you love me? Brian, do you trust me? And Brian, do you really believe that I will provide for you and your family regardless what I ask you to do?
And your answer?
My answer to all 3 of those questions, I realized that the Lord wanted one, and my answer at that point, if I was really honest, was no.
We wrestled with the same questions that challenged me as well.
Yes. And so now we find ourselves, after this is our 2nd year in our village of Grand Vide, and we just really want to share with you some of the things that the Lord has done and that the Lord is doing, as well as an overview of what we do with Community of Hope Haiti.
When we first started going a few years ago, and I went in September of 2014, I came back from that trip just really wanting to hear from the Lord and what His vision was for the group. And so when we went, we met with the leaders of the village who wanted to know why we were there and why our presence was there. The Lord at that time was speaking to me Isaiah 60, and in several places it says, "Arise and shine, for the Lord's light has risen upon you. In my anger I struck you, and now I have compassion on you. The wealth of the nations will be brought to you, and foreigners will rebuild your walls." In the middle of this meeting, without any of the leaders knowing what was on my heart for Haiti, someone said, "This just sounds like Isaiah 60, where foreigners come and rebuild your walls." And from that point forward, the community and our organization, which is just our family, really began to sink, and we became united just really in that moment, hearing what God was speaking. And then when God speaks something in the spirit, it's really important to start making some moves in the natural. So we started to sell a lot of our things. We realized we were really comfortable. We were living very comfortably in our little suburban life. And as we started to let things go, we realized just how much we were holding on to stuff. And we really tried to hold on to our house, but we eventually sold our house too at the end of 2014. And in April of 2015, we packed up our bags and we moved to Haiti.
And the other transition that was very difficult was I had left a career in medical device industry and sales for 15 years. And that transition process was quite interesting, but especially when now we rely completely 100% on $0 a year. And we found that was very interesting, that the invitation that the Lord had asked us in that 3rd question, "Brian, do you really believe that I will provide for you and for your family regardless what I ask you to do?" That answer was no at that point. What we can say a year later is that we see daily living in Grand Vide, which basically defines the definition of abject poverty perfectly. And in 1975, the United Nations defined abject poverty as the lack of food, clean water, medical care, education, or information on a wide-scale level. And the village that we live in is roughly 1,800 people. We do not have, it's a fishing village, and we just do not have basic human needs. We find it interesting that the Lord has asked us to live side by side along in our village. No walls. We live in a glass house. Immersed, and with no electricity, no plumbing, no clean water. But however, some great things have happened as a result of that. And we have begun to call on the name of the Lord and watch Him provide in great and mighty ways. not only just for ourselves, but for everyone in our village?
Even though we have these initiatives to partner with the village, when their top 5 needs, they basically defined poverty without realizing they were defining it when they explained to us what they needed. And so we kind of set some initiatives in motion to get to work on clean water and really partnering with them to rebuild this village. And so, but as we progressed on and moved to the country, we realized that what they really needed was to hear from God their Father. What they really needed is to understand that that their Father in heaven loves them, and He calls them sons and daughters, and that He is their provider. We're not their provider. He's their provider.
The key piece of what we sense the Lord in leading us in what we do at Community of Hope Haiti is to become a sustainable mission. And what that means is the Lord is the provider. Remember back when I had mentioned the 3 questions that the Lord asked me, the 3rd question was, Brian, do you really believe that I will provide for you and your family regardless what I ask you to do? And we too have found that we need to lean on that for our community. So as we live in our village of Grand Vide, Heather, when she met with the leaders of the village and asked them what their top 5 needs were, they stated those top 5 needs based on the definition of abject poverty by the United Nations. They needed food. They needed clean water. They needed medical care. They needed education, and they stated toilets as well, which would be sanitation. And so instead of leaning on us, Community of Hope, and providing and meeting those needs, we too have come really with open hands and not having the resources to provide everything for people. So we, along with our family and families in our village, need to fight and need to ask the Lord to provide for those specific things. When we, for example, have a family that comes to our front door with a child and says, hey, will you take my child? We at that point say, this is your child.
You're the mom, and the Lord has given you the ability to raise your child. And we try to encourage them in their role, in their God-given role of being able to care for their children. And that as we let God be God, He begins to turn situations around and gives creativity and understanding of how He wants to be their provider. And so we've just really begun to see women in the village get excited about being able to provide for their families, because what we didn't realize is that when we moved to the village in September, our main thing that we felt like the Holy Spirit was speaking to us is to build a house of prayer. We know that it's the Lord's presence that brings change. It's not the initiatives. It's not being able to meet their basic needs, although those come with it, because that's how the Lord ends up providing. But when we began to build the house of prayer, it required hiring people to make the construction happen. So 100% of the building has been constructed by Haitians. Not one team helped with the construction. They did it all. So we paid all of them from making gravel, which means to hand make gravel. You take a hammer or you take 2 rocks and you break them together, and it breaks down the smaller, makes the larger rocks become smaller rocks, which then you have gravel. And many of the mothers in the village were making gravel, and we were able to pay them for large buckets and wheelbarrows of gravel. And what we realized when we first got there is that there weren't a lot of kids going to school, and we're like, why aren't there very many kids in school? Well, what we didn't know is that the village had just encountered a drought, so they lost all of their crops and a lot of goats. We have a lot of goats running around in the village, so they'll tend to eat the crops. And they didn't have any money to pay for their kids' schooling. And so by them making gravel or doing odd jobs that were needed for the construction project, they were able to pay for their kids' school and their kids' lunches and books and uniforms. And so one of the things that we've realized, since there's very little missionary presence on our part of the island, is that when whatever we did whenever we got there would create the impression of what missionary care, or what missionaries do when you move to a community. And so by encouraging them to work for their basic needs end up being taken care of.
Over the first 7 months, the past 7 months, if we look back, hindsight, we see so many things that have happened. And as Heather had mentioned, we've had the opportunity to hire over 400 people who actively got to be a part of the construction of the House of Prayer and Community Center. Of those 400 people, all of them were from our village or the surrounding villages. We serve surrounding villages, 7 surrounding villages, which approximate roughly 12,000 people in our area. And people walk from our community to see what is happening. So there is a new level of excitement and of hope because of the construction of the community center and of the House of Prayer. Every single material that was used to build those came from the mainland. So we even had to ship sand, 37 boatloads of sand on a sailboat. We had to ship 4,500 blocks. We had to ship 7.5 tons of steel. We had to ship 1,100 bags of concrete. And all those came completely by hand, by wind from the mainland to construct this thing by hand.
So let me explain this to you. Because of the way that the boats are constructed, and because there are no docks for the boats to come to, they have to stop before they get to land, which means a small boat needs to go out to the large boat to get any goods or people to bring them to the land. And that's, so if you have a boat from our village that leaves to go to the mainland, they stop before they get to shore, and whatever goods that we've purchased, so sand, say, let's say, for example, sand, you have a dump truck that comes and dumps the sand along the shore. The sand needs to go to the small boat, which has to be transferred to the large boat. The large boat sails over to our island and stops before it gets to land. A small boat comes out, and every ounce of sand has to be put in buckets to take to the land. And I was explaining to someone earlier today that there's no words to be able to explain the amount of hard work that went into building this building. We may be educated, but the work ethic that our friends have humbled us intensely. And we were able to see how badly our community desires to thrive. And when I would see single moms carry heavy buckets of gravel from a long ways away to where they would make gravel in their home just to provide for their families, because most families are ran by single mothers, because it's a very fatherless nation. The corruption and the pain from the top down, and from years and years and years of the combination of pain and corruption, this nation has not been able to get on their own 2 feet. And you couple that with the mentality of, we're going to be your providers, it creates codependency within the people, and they begin to depend on people. And we have worked really hard to not create that. And so when we see these moms or these dads doing back-breaking hard work to provide for their families, I didn't even know how to explain it to people. I didn't even know how to put into words our experiences, because there were no words that would give any justice to this mom who has the physical strength to be able to not only to survive but thrive and make a means for her family in ways that I would never even know how to explain. And so so many times I would just be silenced, and being able to explain what was going on in my heart, and the things that the ways that I was changing, and really, when we live such a comfortable life in America, and it's really hard to step out and see the needs and to be consistent in that. And so to be in our village has really challenged me in the way that I love and how I love and my ability to reach out to people.
The great thing about the house of prayer, when we talked about the basic 5 needs of abject poverty, the Lord specifically says in Isaiah 56, he says that my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations. So that's literally what his perspective of his house. He's a provider, and he welcomes us in, and he calls it a house of prayer. The neatest thing about it is that he said, seek first my kingdom and my righteousness, and everything else is going to be given to you. In that everything else is going to be given to you, does that mean food? It does. Because Jesus said right before he said, and everything else will be given to you, he said, look at the birds of the air and consider how they fly. Do I not feed them? Are you not more important than the birds of the air? For clothing, he said, look at the lilies of the field. Do I not clothe them? Are they not more beautiful than King Solomon in all his splendor? Will I not clothe you? So what we are doing, what Heather is stating, is giving hope to people who really don't have hope, because Jesus is the hope of the world. Like, we are seeing the hope of glory come through the construction naturally of the house of prayer, but now that's the avenue with how we connect people to their Father. And that connection is really the core focus of what we see the Lord doing in the earth right now, what he's doing in Haiti. And that is specified in Malachi chapter 4, verse 5 and 6, when the Lord says that I am sending the spirit of Elijah, which means to think differently about who we are and about who God is. And he says, and I will return the hearts of the parents to the hearts of the children, and the hearts of the children to the hearts of the parents.
One of our goals really in living in our community is creating a kingdom culture. Not an American culture, not a Haitian culture, but Lord God, what do you want to do here? How do you want for us to live? How do you want for us to live, and what does it look like to live here? Because we have no grid of what that means, because we've never done it before. We've never had a desire to live in another country. Whatever the idea of missionary was, we never explored, we never cared. I mean, we never really questioned. We just didn't. And so when we moved to Haiti, we really had no idea of what it looked like. But we do know that God has an idea of what he wants for his kingdom, the way that he governs things to look like on earth. And we know that that's the right way of doing things, and we don't always understand what the right way of doing things is. And so, and that means that the kids that don't know who they are, when they begin to seek out, whenever they begin to make the time to get before God in a space like a house of prayer, then they're able to hear for themselves, not from us, but they're able to hear from the Holy Spirit themselves of who God says they are. And it not only is it our vision for the village, it's also our vision for when people come to visit, that's the expectation, that that people don't come to do something good. They're coming to get an encounter.
So looking back at the past 7 months, we just want to give a recap of the things that have happened. And when we arrived September of 2015 in our village of Grand Vide on the island of Gonâve, we had just spent the first 4 months on the mainland of Haiti learning about the culture, our family adapting. We learned the language, which our children are now fluent. It's pretty amazing. She's still learning. I'm still learning. But it's a process. And when we first arrived in September of 2015, there were so many things to do. We saw the definition of abject poverty truly in our midst, right in our front yard. We needed to establish our home. But the first thing that we started with was a house of prayer. That is now accomplished. We're excited to say, as of December of 2015, the building is established. And after 400 people have worked so diligently, they now can call the community center and house of prayer their own. Within that building, we have a kitchen where we hope to do commercial cooking and teaching clean cooking methodologies, as well as give families the opportunity to provide some food and the opportunity to provide some finances for their family. We will teach microfinance and budget management in that aspect. We also created a small teaching area where we hope to have a school, where we hope to have online education, and hopefully someday a technical school and even a college. We now have the final house of prayer area, and so we're just putting all the pieces together to where we can begin to utilize it in a greater way. And it's really exciting to watch those things happen. The other things that have happened really greatly is we've begun agriculture. And so we know that our village needs food. And people come to us daily and say, hey, I'm hungry. And so what our desire is to seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Everything's going to be added. So we see that agriculture, the Lord has given us 40 acres of land to manage. We've begun cultivation. We've begun to put up a fence because we have significant animals and livestock issues. There are many goats, and they eat a lot of the greenery, and any small vegetation, any gardens that people plant, they typically eat it. So we're happy to announce that we've already planted about 900 feet of fencing, so we can begin to plant vegetation and trees.
And keep those goats out.
That's right. Moringa is the world's healthiest plant. And so we've planted 75 plants of those. We've planted 50 coconut trees. And we've begun planting plantain trees, tomatoes, eggplant, and peppers. But we really need more help. We need more help with micro irrigation, with well construction and digging, as well as just people who have a heart for permaculture and agroforestry. Haiti, as we know, is the most deforested country in the world. 97% of all of Haiti is deforested. It's not any different on our island. In fact, our number one and number two commerces are creating firewood and charcoal and fishing. So we see daily our neighbors going out to the fields and to harvest many trees to create charcoal, but they're not replanting. And so part of the hope for Community of Hope is to replant trees that not only create food, but also fix the soil, minimize erosion. The second thing that creates are problems for our fishing industry. And so when it rains, it erodes our topsoil, and that comes in and that covers the reef system that we have in the ocean. We live right on the Caribbean, but the reefs we see are pretty decimated because of the erosion and the deforestation. So part of our mission and our vision is to also replant, to minimize that, and then secondarily to create artificial reefs so we can see smaller fish come and we can have larger fish come into our area, so our fishermen who use handmade carved out boats, kind of like a canoe, can thereby harvest more food. And as we had mentioned, our core competency is to see the hearts of the parents return to the hearts of the children, and the hearts of the children to the hearts of the parents, with sustainable food provision and job commerce created through agroforestry, through agriculture and livestock, and through fishing. We hope that we will see that in short term. It's our 5-year goal to be completely sustainable as an organization, to where we actually not only are sustainable in the mission and vision that we have, but we are financially stable. Currently, right now, we're in the process of capital investments because we're just beginning. Things are just starting. And so we're investing in our community, and we're investing in things that will have long-term benefit, long-term financial gain, so that we can empower families thereby to continue sustainable commerce, mission, all with the central focal point of being seek first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, which is Jesus, and that is being accomplished through the house of prayer, through the community center, through discipleship and education.
Yeah. Since we're in the beginning stages of building, we are also in need of others who want to come alongside and partner with us with financial investments. We can't do any of this without partnerships of people. We love seeing God work in the hearts of others when they financially partner with us for the things that we wanted, that God's doing. in our village. One of those things is just caring for our widows. What we realized is that older women are typically the last person standing in the family, and there's typically no means to really care for them. There's no place to send them. There's no old care facility to send them to. They're pretty much left on their own, and they can't work for themselves. So if the older women or sometimes older men don't have anyone to care for them, they are hungry. And so we have taken on the responsibility of caring for them. Sometimes when the church will get involved and help, but they don't really have the means to do that too. So we have 21 widows in our care, and right now we feed them once a month. That's a bag of food that will last for about a week, and we really want to increase that. It's very clear the Lord says to take care of our widows and orphans. Orphans tend to get the first dib in that, but we are really, it's just really strong in our heart to care for the widows who have worked really hard to care for their families. And so it has been such a pleasure to me to go and visit them in their homes and pray with them and talk to them the best way that I can. But even if I haven't showed up in a while, they'll say, I haven't seen you. And I'm like, I know. There's so many of you, and I love you all. But they have so humbled me, and it's been such a joy to help care for them. And another thing that we really feel strongly on our heart is to care for the kids. Because it's a fatherless nation, parents tend to kind of let their kids roam free, which works in our favor because we now have the ability to be able to invest in them, and they're wide open to hear. They're so eager to learn, and they've become friends with our children, and so they're always in our front yard. Mm-hmm. And as we've just kind of evaluated the past 7 months and what has worked, what are the things that we are so thankful that's happened, and just some of the changes that we need to make, investing in the next generation is by far one of the things that we feel important that we need to do, and really helping them understand that through the power of God's Spirit, that they can change their nation. Mm-hmm. They do have the equipping to be able to do that. And so it's our desire to pull that out of them and to allow God to change their mindset and to teach them how to be agents of change in their own nation, and that they can go out and they can be risen up to be able to help bring change to their nation. And so when we go back Monday, June 20th, we created a schedule to just kind of build within our normal workday what it looks like to be investing in them through Bible Academy, through worship arts, through soccer. The kids play soccer every day. But it needs to be, they need some coaching. They need not just on physical skills, but on character development, and what that looks like, how that transitions into the field, and how it transitions into the way that they treat each other when they're playing together. And so it's just a wide open possibility. And so even in saying that, what's coming to my mind is that I know that there are people that are watching this video where your heart is being moved and you want to be able to invest in children or invest in medical care, or to be a part of what, maybe it's a musician, maybe you can sing, maybe you want to be a part of the house of prayer. There are so many avenues that the Lord is moving in our village, and we're not supposed to be doing it on our own. I know that the Lord is bringing a team of people together. And so for those of you where your heart is being stirred right now, I just ask that you pray and you ask what God is doing in your heart. And maybe it's something within your own community. Maybe there's something within your own community that you feel called to just kind of step out of a place of comfort and serve where you are, or maybe it's to partner with us. We just ask that however this video or however this conversation is impacting you, that you don't just let that sit, that you do something with that. And you, anybody can say yes. It's not always easy, But the joy that comes with saying yes to God and his ways are by far the safest place you can be.
We really are excited for what's come in the next 7 months. And we see, as Heather had stated, a really great opportunity to impact the next generation, to impact families. We've got 7 couples that want to be married. Currently, there are 2 couples that are married in our village. There are people that are seeking for sustainability within their family. There are people that really, really want to understand and learn more medical care. So this is a wide open investment. One of my dear friends who's been a missionary for many years and is on many board of directors stated that this opportunity that the Lord has opened up at Community of Hope Haiti and Grand Vide is like an IPO. And if I were to invest in it, I would invest everything because it is such an excellent opportunity. And so if you want to be a part of something greater and have really been stirred, please, we are so open to your visit, whether it be short-term, mid-term, long-term, or whether you're interested in farming, agroforestry, permaculture, house of prayer, education. We really need teachers, and we need teachers of teachers. We need fishermen. We need builders and constructors who have a heart to teach welding, mechanics, all kinds of things, because we are literally the only organization on an entire island. So we serve multiple communities, and it's a wide open door. And we just invite you. By the way, we live about 8 to 10 feet from the Caribbean. So it is very gorgeous.
Very beautiful.
Very beautiful, but there is a dichotomy of poverty and beauty. But we see the Lord infiltrating, and His word is going forth. His work is going forth for His glory. As we seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, these things are being added to us. And we are seeing fathers returning to children and children returning to fathers. But we're just beginning.
One of the questions that I receive often is, how do you do this? How do you go back and forth? And in August, before my trip home, I came home for 2 weeks in August, and the impression upon my heart that I felt like the Lord was preparing me for was, it's not about poverty, and it's not about plenty. It's not about wealth. It's about the circumstances. It's about the heart. It's not about circumstances. And so it doesn't matter what our things look like. It matters what our heart condition is. And it's the thing that helps me to go back and forth and to make the mental and heart adjustments to the things that we see and don't see, and to really understand that Jesus is after the heart. It doesn't matter what we have or don't have. He wants your heart. He wants my heart. And He just requires that's what we're open to. And so it's the thing that helps me to go back and forth and to be open to what He does, and to have a heart of thanksgiving. That wherever we are, having a heart of thanksgiving is definitely also another huge thing. Just having a heart of thanksgiving for what we have here and even what we have there. Because both of us, the village teaches us as much as we have things to bring. They teach me more than what I can bring to the table. And the beautiful thing about it is it's taken me so long to learn the language that it's taught me that I don't really actually need to say anything. And I don't have to rely on the gifts that I've been given, because it's pushed me into a place of not being comfortable and really hearing, what does this person need to receive right now, and what does that person have to give me, and how do I just sit and be without relying on my gifts to be able to communicate how to do that.
Yeah.
And so I've really been silenced a lot, and it's taught me how to love.
And the beauty of being thankful for not having a car, not having a boat. Our major mode of transportation in our village ultimately is donkeys. We do have a little 3-wheeler that has a little truck on the back, but we really look forward to, for the next 7 months, the work that we really need to accomplish. A boat is going to change everything. And so please partner with us in prayer, and as we seek the opportunity to have a boat, because it will give us great opportunities for fishing, for human transport, emergency transport, materials transport, and will very much open the door for the next things that are forthcoming.
Yeah, we really felt like it was important to experience how hard it was to have to leave our village and go to the mainland for a carton of eggs, because we're not able to get goods or services in our village.
To send an email, you have to go 62 miles round trip.
It's a 5-hour boat ride, and the boat doesn't come back to the next day, so it's also an overnight stay, which is really hard on people. And so we have done that for 7 months now. And we know what it feels like. We know the difficulty, and we are petitioning the Lord for a boat. It would drastically change the time, the transportation time, to about an hour.
Yeah.
And so it's hard on our family. It's really hard on our family to have a 5-hour boat ride and have to plan logistically how to live life. So,
Good news over the last 7 months spiritually, what we have seen since we've come to Grand Vide, we've seen so many people that say, I want to receive the Lord. And we've seen so many people that have said that I want to get married. We've seen so many people that say, I'm not really happy with the way that I've been living. I want to change. There's also been a lot of difficulties in just discipline, where we have had to confront a lot of injustice, a lot of problems with abuse, a lot of issues with abandonment and fatherlessness and motherlessness. We've had to face those things. But what we see is great grace and great love, and people are beginning to realize that we are for them, that we are there, that we live in the midst of our village, and we are establishing credibility based on the way that we live, based on the way, if I'm frustrated and Heather and I need to walk through some conflict resolution, we do it in front of the community. And as a married couple, sometimes it's not easy, but we do it even in the midst of the inability to get away somewhere where nobody is at. When we discipline our kids, we have to do it in front of the other kids. And oftentimes it's kind of neat, because the philosophy of Haitian culture is it really does take a village to raise a child. And so anybody can discipline anybody's child. That can be for better or for worse, but we've seen that it also leaves an open door for us to be able to administer the love of Jesus through healthy discipline, through training away a child in the way that he should go and he won't depart from it. And we see that happening on a very regular basis. And that's really exciting about the next step that we foresee with the House of Prayer, with our Kids Academy, teaching the Word of God, teaching English and literacy through the Word of God as well, but really storing up the Word of God in their hearts, applying it through widow care, through agriculture, as those kids learn how to work, how to serve one another, how to own themselves and walk in godly character. We're seeing incredible things happen.
just even to teach the kids how to care for the widows, it teaches them to honor the elderly in ways that the elderly is largely forgotten. And so we want to teach them how to serve the elders in their village and how to love on them. I don't need to be the one that does the food distribution every month. Those little ones can very easily pack a bag of rice and can very easily take food to someone who's sitting in their house. And so one of our goals is to incorporate the kids more in what we're doing on the mission field. One of the things we really want to see the kids do when we go back is teaching them that they have the ability to be able to serve the elderly in the community. I don't need to be the only one packing the bag of rice. Those kids can easily do it themselves and go and serve the people that have raised them up and taken care of them. So we really want for them to understand what it means to take care and honor your mother and your father. Even the mothers and the fathers in the village, we want for them to understand what it means to serve.
So on behalf of Community of Hope Haiti, on behalf of the Tucker family,
Elijah, Lily, and Luke,
Heather,
Brian,
and Browning, our dog, we just really invite you into this journey. Grand Vide Haiti is an amazing place that God is doing incredible things. Mm-hmm. And the island of Gonâve, God is using the least of these to really bring forth God's glory. And we're seeing lives radically changed, our lives, others' lives, and we hope and pray that your life will also be impacted and radically changed by God's love, how He functions and how He moves.
Just ask Him. You know what? God so desires to be connected to you and to talk to you and to hear from you. And I know that if you ask him, he will reveal to you what you are called to do in your community, or if you're called to partner with us and to be a part of what we're doing.
So, as we say, you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. You teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. And that's really the principle of what we're doing here at Community of Hope Haiti. We just ask that you come and join us. Whether you want to come see us, we have an open door policy. We've got a place for you.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks. Okay. God bless you all.